All right, I'm just sharing the stream. If anyone's watching yet, just gonna put it on my Twitter. Hello everyone. No. Live streaming now. Come join you fucks. All right. All right. Let me just put this on my Instagram, and then we'll get started. Yeah. So basically, I had two minds to do things today. Firstly, last night I got onto the last level of Metal Gear Solid Rising, the bit with Armstrong, from all the memes, you know, like Nanomachine Son. I used to play ball in college, all that shit. I was thinking about playing that on stream, but I don't know how hard Armstrong is. Like, I defeated because we streamed it last Tuesday, and I defeated Jetstream Sam on my own last night. So I might still do that at some point. Not tonight though. I'm just gonna do a normal stream. Streaming now. Come join. And then I was thinking about not streaming at all, but me, the Humanist Report, and Amy from the Mr. Beast video, we're going on Jen Perelman's live stream tomorrow. For me, that's 4 a.m. So I might stream before I go on because I'll be bored waiting up for that. But I might not. So I thought, instead of putting myself in that dilemma potentially of maybe not streaming again, because I know I have to make videos Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week, I thought I would do one tonight for a bit, and maybe we will talk about the fun latest video I did about Turning Red and 9/11. Just gonna read some comments. Hey Katie, long time no see. How's it going? Hi, everything's well. How's the new I don't know the technical word for it, but how's the new would you say beauty parlor? How's your new place anyway? Your new workplace. I know you said you opened up your own one before. Hey Perry, hey X Rix. Okay, I can't say that, but hey. Callum, hey. Do you know Joe? I don't think I know Joe. Hello Cav, hello Fernando. Hey Jessica. Nope. You're not late. It's early morning in Australia. Well, it's about 1 a.m. in the UK. 5 a.m. in India. Are you from India, Char? I'm guessing. Turning Red has nothing to do with 9/11. Well, that's why some people think it's bad. Almost 7 in the US, Texas. Yeah, that's why I always stream late. Also, YouTube's my job, so you know I can do it when I want. Hey Cav, have you watched any of Mooncat's videos? Yeah, I shouted out Mooncat. Not that we're pals or anything, but I've shouted out Mooncat a lot. We follow each other on Twitter and we tweeted at each other a couple times, but nothing massive. Our videos are like absolute quality. I haven't actually watched a new one because it's 2 hours long, and I wanted to give it the respect it deserves. But the runtimes put me off. Her Camp Rock video, like I basically on holiday, when I first found her channel, thought it was absolutely hilarious. So I just went back and binge watched some of her videos, and her Camp Rock one was so fucking funny. One of her older ones. Yeah, so Mooncat, go watch Mooncat. Katie, things going well, haven't gone under, so I'd take that as a win. Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good start for sure. No, I hope it's going better. What's it like being your own boss? How are you advertising? Are you doing it on social media or just local? Armstrong would be cool. I haven't played it before. Well, basically, here's the funny thing about Metal Gear Rising, right? Metal Gear 2 and Metal Gear Rising are all about Richard Dawkins, the selfish gene, and they're all about like memes, like things you pass on to the next generation, like whether that be ideology, other things like that, right? Metal Gear Rising is very much about this, and how fitting is that it's become insanely popular again through like literal internet memes. So basically, I'm going to do 2 videos on it. And when I was playing it last night, basically the plot of the game is a US senator wants to create a new war on terror, to restart the military-industrial complex like it was during the war on terror. The game references WMDs in Iraq. It talks about it straight up. The game talks about 9/11 and Afghanistan. It talks about everything, and that's why I tweeted like, I love Japanese video games where American video games are like really careful about not talking about politics. Japanese video games are like, let me talk about 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. Let me talk about all these things, just like fucking this clip here from my stream the other day.
AMC's is about to skyrocket. Like the good old days after 9/11.
Kojima loves fucking mentioning 9/11 as well.
Anything that'll rival 9/11 cannot be good.
Someone else. So basically, yeah, just this game, we cannot stop talking about 9/11, which is funny. Yeah, Perry, I made that meme, so I was hoping it'd do a bit better, but it was fucking funny. I'm hiring myself on social media, but that's good though. If you're staying like in business, and then hopefully you'll get more people from social media, like hopefully it keeps growing. Now I respect it because it's just so fucking hard. But like self-employment, even though you put more hours in, it just is like better all around. Like, better being your own boss. The good old days after 9/11. Yeah, Rashid, it's fucking good. It's fucking good. Like I actually didn't realize how connected it was to Metal Gear Solid 4. Kids are cruel, Gav. Yeah, that fucking scene just before, like, Sundowner is such a fucking good character. I also didn't realize the voice actor is the voice actor of Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid 3, which is absolutely mad. Completely different performances. Is weed legal in the UK? I think weed is decriminalized lately in London. I'm not sure about the UK in general, but no, it's not. It's not legal. Can't buy it in the shop or anything. It's weird how people have a hyper fixation on the victimization of corporations. The government's a sad event that America has to say as a lot of countries for greed, for sure. It's not just America either. Yeah, it's not America either. Like most European colonialist countries did the exact same fucking shit as America. America just seems to be the main one at the moment, though. How am I doing? Yeah, I'm doing okay, I guess. YouTube's a bit like hit or miss. Like I've said this a couple of times. Everything's fine. It's just the sub growth is really slow. At the moment, like I want to hit 100K this year. And I want to be in a comfortable place before November, December. Like ideally, I'd be on 90K in November, just because December is when like everything goes crazy on YouTube, like ad revenue, views, subs, and I just want to be in a good place so I can hit that 100K before the end of the year. I'm doubting it a bit, but then at the same time, I'm comforting myself in that once I hit 100K, I'm gonna stop giving a shit about subscribers, because I know for political content there's like a ceiling. That is quite low. Like I'm never gonna have 1 million subscribers. Probably never even gonna have 200K subscribers. Not that you need that, of course. But then, so I'm trying to relax about it a bit. It's just I'm just trying to get a video to get like a lot of views again, and it just feels hard. Like my Russell, it's annoying watching people do react content to Russell Brand that gets like 200K views, and I spent so fucking long on those Russell Brand videos, and they've just been stuck at like 40K views. I mean, 40K views each. I upload them one day after the other, which is cool. But at the same time, I would love something like that to blow up, get like 200K or something, which I think it could have. Russell Brand is fucking really popular on YouTube. So yeah, it's just a bit frustrating at the moment, I guess. I'm a bit low on ideas right now. I think I got a good one for Tuesday, so let's see what happens. Adam Barry, I think the only thing me and Lonabox have said to each other, I think I just called him an idiot on Twitter. I think that's about it. I don't think there's any beef there really. Yeah, Fuli Laguni. I'm definitely going to talk about that in the video for sure. Yeah, it's so nice not to be working for some dick. Yeah, Katie. Yeah, I'm happy about that. And yeah, because your boss sounded so awful as well, it's just it's just nice you got away from it all. Livestream to go my rum and coke, nice. Rum and coke. I prefer Monster, Lewis Hamilton Monster, and Disaronno. Lewis Hamilton or any Monster and vodka. But yeah, how's it going, Tristan? But also, I don't think Adam. I don't think a debate with Lonerbox, even if we did have beef, would bring me any views realistically. To be honest, I hear that. I really like how thoughtful you are about what you put out. Thanks. I appreciate someone appreciates that. To be honest, like it's just hard. Like, because I upload like quite a lot, and it's just I don't know. I run out of ideas sometimes. I'm in a bit of a slump. And it's also when YouTube's your job, you've got to get that balance between monetized content and demonetized. So like obviously talking about 9/11 and that turning red, that's a demonetized video. I know that. So that's a bit annoying to make no money from it. But then I've got another good idea for a video which I basically planned. But it's talking about like Pornhub and stuff. Because I made some videos on it like a couple years ago. And I don't want to put that up as my next one because I don't want to have like 2 videos in a row that make no money. So I might leave that for Friday, but I'll see. So basically, I've covered this a bit before. My video on Tuesday, basically, loads of nerds are angry that Natalie Portman is quite swole to play female 4 in the new 4 movie. And I want to talk about like that, Abby from The Last of Us, maybe some other like muscly shit. I'm so smart. I just thought that Encanto Pixar movie, people were freaking out about that girl with big muscles. Okay, that's a good video, and that is a good video. Like, I think you guys will enjoy that one. Because I made that video about fat. It's weird. It's always about like the God of Thunder 4. I made that video about God of Wars 4, about how it's like the complaints against it are based on like toxic masculinity, about male body standards, and I like opened up about my own struggles with body image. And I know apparently this doesn't come across well. I'm not there's anything wrong with this. I'm not actually like a large person at all. Like I'm in like good shape. I think I'm like 84 kg and I'm 6'2" or something. So that's about, what's that, like 180 pounds, something like that. So I'm actually like, I exercise all the time. I like run, play football, do weights and stuff, and I don't eat loads either. Although some people think I'm fat, which, to disappoint the right wing trolls who often say I'm not. Often I find it's projection. When people call me fat in the comments, I just tell them to stop projecting, and then often the comment is deleted within like an hour. And then basically in that Fat 4 video, I was basically saying like, it's toxic masculinity to think everyone should look like Chris Hemsworth. There's loads of performance enhancing drugs that these Marvel actors take to get that body image in the first place. If you ever watch any documentaries about the X-Men films with Hugh Jackman, the diet he is on is like steak and water, and then you dehydrate yourself to make your veins pop out. Really, really unhealthy. And then that Kumail Nanjiani just talking about like how I think he looks terrible despite being in really good shape, because he's obviously taken, like him and Zac Efron have obviously taken performance enhancing drugs because you can see it in their face. And like it's just like a really toxic thing that like in this movie where they're playing like superhumans, I get 4 to an extent, but then the God of War 4 looks interesting as well because 4's not meant to be a good person primarily. So with this video I want to do, it's just about like the reaction to muscly women. So I got like Cassandra in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that one in Encanto, or whatever that film's called, Natalie Portman, and Abby from The Last of Us. So I'm gonna just write this down quick. It's hit me like a bolt of lightning. Pardon the pun for a full reference. Encanto, AC. I also want to talk about the sexualization in Metal Gear Solid and how unnecessary it is for a game series that is really progressive. All right, that's written down. Turning Red Dead Redemption. So let's read some comments. Let's talk for a bit. Hamilton has his own monster flavor. Yeah, he does. They took it away from the UK for a bit. Okay, saying it's so hard because when your income is based on the amount of people who decide to use your service or remember to watch your shit or whatever, the constant stress, but also a great day is great. Yeah, for sure. For me personally, it's different for you, Katie, I guess. For me personally, it's just the freedom from the 9 to 5 grind and like working hours and stuff. But then still just like it's the same thing with like not having a landlord to owning a house, right? It's still like you're still paying money for the mortgage because okay, technically the bank probably owns the house. But it's like you don't have that person down your throat all the time, and I guess that's the main thing. Freedom from power and hierarchy, I guess. Kay, is it just you at the moment, or do you employ people? I feel like if Loaderbox met you in person, you'd get along. San Fran fan, while we probably may share some political positions, I think the assumption that two creators you watch would get on is probably very, very slim. I spoke about this a lot about like parasocial relationships and saying how if you met a lot of people in real life, they'd probably be quite polite. They probably wouldn't actually really want to talk to you. I've talked about my own experience. Like, there's when I'm talking to people, even like people I message on Instagram, like for a long, long time, people I've spoken to in the chat a lot. There's that barrier of the screen where like I'm talking to a microphone on a camera. It's a very sterile environment and an environment that like I dominate because it's just me talking. But if you having a real conversation with someone, it becomes, at least to me, I guess I think a lot more about these things. I basically I've always said I know within 2 seconds if I'm going to be friends with someone. Like I can tell straight away. I have rarely made friends with someone I didn't hit it off with immediately, or even have a good impression. Like people I've met like throughout uni and work, they might actually think we are friends or like we get on really well. But then for me, I'm so specific and picky about friendships because I don't know, I just don't like wasting time with like small talk or relationships that don't mean much to me. Like I have quite a big group of friends, but we've all been friends since like primary school or secondary school, and I always hate it when some people in that group bring their own friends from like uni or work, and it's like I really cannot be bothered with this because I don't care about this person and I don't want to interact with them. I know it's really, really selfish at the same time. I think it's when you get older you just feel this way a bit more. Yeah, Tristan, I think I follow you. Tristan, I always get confused because there are multiple people there are multiple people I interact with who have football profile pictures. I follow you on Instagram, don't I? And we've spoken on Instagram. Yeah, I want to do Instagram Reels. Is something I've been wanting to do. I just get so burnt out from the week. I just really can't be bothered to do anything. Like there's so much stuff. There's so much extra stuff I've got to do. Like, I got to design this merch that I'm partnering the company who actually made this hoodie they gave me to sponsor. We're actually going to make some merch, but I need to fucking do the designs. Like keep up to date on my taxes. There's loads of shit I need to do at the moment. I just put it all off. Yeah, it's rough when how easy a React mock video doesn't really go into depth, get loads of views, while a long form essay start. Yeah, it's annoying as well because it's not like I'm a small channel either, so I thought it'd do a bit better. It did fine, but a bit annoying. What is it with white lefty streamers being tall? I don't really know, to be honest. Who else is tall? Hassan or something. They hit the Pentagon Kavernacle with the fucking Pentagon. Why are you talking about the planes? Alright, gonna read some more stuff. Hit the like button. Thanks, Jessica, for shouting out the likes. Yeah, Kate's saying it's ridiculous in the same way that women expect to look like celebrities. We don't spend every day working out or dropping thousands of facial treatments a month. Yeah, I mean, look, to be honest, I said this in my video about male body standards. I'm like women's body standards, and the expectation is way worse. The men one is just, it feels like it's getting a bit more toxic with social media. Meow Nian. Is that enough? I saw, I tweeted, like, apparently there's another 9/11 Turning Red review. So is that the person who made it? I couldn't find it. DC. Am I a fan of DC? I mean, the new Batman film is pretty good. Dark Knight is pretty good. Arkham City is like an absolutely 10 out of 10 game. So I'm like a fan. I don't care too much for comic book things anymore. Hey Cav, you can make a podcast for cheap and earn quite a bit from it. Char, I appreciate the suggestion. While you can make a podcast for cheap, you're not wrong there. I kind of don't see how I can make quite a lot of money from it. I mean, if we talk about sponsorships, I get way more views on my actual videos than anything like a podcast, so I don't understand how I'd be making much money from it. Yeah, Sam Fran, I get on with most people. If we spoke to each other on a stream, we about topics we agree on, probably get on absolutely fine. Damn, I was just about to ask about socializing advice. I mean, I'll give people advice about small talk all day of the week, any day of the week, because I'm an absolute master at small talk. I just absolutely hate it. Like, for someone like me who like doesn't have social anxiety and like is really good just at talking to random fucking strangers, I also do not get any satisfaction from doing it, and I try and try and just do it as little as possible. So, because I hate it. Like, I'll get on with a hairdresser, but then I'll never want to speak to him again, and it made me not want to go back to that hairdresser. I'm more extroverted as I get older. I'm getting worse as I get older. Yeah, Fireball. So I play football on a Monday in a fives league. Most people I play with, I've known since I was about 5 years old. So basically, all my friends either went to my primary school or my secondary school. Like all my friends that I see regularly. I have a couple friends from uni, like two, and I had another two that I've kind of become a bit distant from. So yeah, I'd say my friendship group is pretty big. Like I'd say if we got everyone together, like lads and girls, be about like 25 people maybe. I'd say regularly I probably see about 7 or 8 of them. But yeah, it's just easier sometimes when you know people for years, because like I go away to Spain and like we don't even speak, and you come back and it's the same. So yeah, all my friends are from my childhood basically. Jude, do you live in England? But you're yeah, I'm not patriotic about England because it's shit, and I'm not from an English background either, so. Oh, okay, Tristan. Yeah, sorry, because your profile picture is Lucas Digne from Villa. Yeah, but awesome. Congrats on 2 jobs then. So I'm just reading some more. What hour is it from you? It's 1:20 a.m. Arkham games are goated. I think the second one is way better than the other 2, to be honest. Okay, I'll explain it in a sec. Yeah, Giran's video. That's where I saw it, but then I didn't know who the fuck's channel it was. Akshat, this isn't actually a video because it won't stay up on the channel. It's just a live stream. I hate when you and a girl get along and then it suddenly dies. I've never really had that problem since I've been with my girlfriend since we just turned 17. So, so basically, this is my like relationship history. Like I went out with girls in like a kiddie way until I was 14. Then I had like a serious relationship, like serious, as serious as it can be as a teenager, from like 14 to 16, and then we broke up. Was single for about 8 or 9 months, and then I got with my current girlfriend. So, so basically, from the age of 14 to 26, I've been single for 8 months. So I haven't had really much of a problem of talking to a girl and then it fizzling. Channel 5 star. Oh my god, I fucking hate that, man. Like going out and talking to crazy people for my channel. Yeah, cafe. Just general dating seems like really dystopian at the moment. My girlfriend was telling me one of her friends talking about all the boys she has lined up on like Hinge, I think, and how like it just sounds so dystopian, like having a choice. But obviously with dating apps, the personality is obviously relegated, and it's all about like looks and stuff. So it's all about literally the most attractive people or the most photogenic people getting the most matches. You live in Minnesota. Okay, British and American. I mean, England's probably better than America, but it's not really a high bar. Is it going on Kavernacle Extra? Yeah. This one will be for sure. Oh, the other video I referenced. Right, what video was that? How was the Brentford game? Yeah, it was good. Brentford played really well. Um, and unlucky not to win. Hit the post in the last minute. Hit the bar in the first half. Going to a football game does remind me how much I hate English people, though. And there's just obviously I'm someone who like loves football or soccer for Americans. I've loved it most of my life, and just what I hate most about it is the culture around it, like the people who go to games, the people who play. Like I always feel so alienated when I play because the element who play football in this country, and it's not even like a classist thing. It's not even like a working class thing. It's just this very very English mentality, proper scummy, massive drinking culture, always up for a fight, whether playing or watching. It's just really shitty, to be honest. Really toxic masculinity, I guess. Yeah, no problem, Tristan. Yeah, Arkham Knight is really solid. I think the combat and the story is a big step down from City, though. Being single is great, to be honest, because as a woman, so many men can be weirdly paternalistic about dating. Like, bitch, yeah, Katie, I never understood that because me and my girlfriend always half everything. Even now, when we've been together so long, I don't. But then at the same time, while men may insist to that, I have seen a lot of discourse on Twitter about women also saying men should be paying for it. It's like, no, like both pay for yourself, or maybe one of you can do the other a favor and be really nice and buy dinner, but it shouldn't be a common thing. Yeah, Raven, that sounds yeah, I don't think I could handle that like extreme, like drawing blood. Andrew, 20 is nothing. I wouldn't worry about like not having a girlfriend by 20 at all. It's seriously not a big deal. Loads of my friends, we're 26 now. Loads of my friends are still single. A lot of my friends have barely been in a relationship. I wouldn't worry about it. Oh, okay. No Justice and Rinsler. Hey, No Justice. You both mentioned the exact same video at the same time. Yeah, I haven't watched that one. I've watched a couple of his videos and they're good. Why would anyone from Europe or England move here? Yeah, I don't know why anyone would move to the United States, but I would know why a lot of people would move away from England too. Cafe Logis, I feel that for sure. I mean, none of you will ever probably meet me in real life, and never meet anyone who knows me in real life. But one thing that most people tell you is that, like, not that I don't have a filter, I'm just always myself, and I don't really fake it, which can lead me not getting on with people straight away. But I will say one thing is I do like being online and YouTube because I can totally be myself, which is nice because obviously when you're in social interactions, you have to cater the social interactions for the people you're with. And not saying you have to be fake, but for example, obviously I run a politics YouTube channel and like know a lot about like online culture. That's kind of at odds with what a lot of my friends are interested in. So while they like maybe talk to me about the YouTube stuff, they won't really give a shit about anything I'm talking about on here. So I wouldn't really bring that up. But I do like on YouTube how I can make videos about loads of different things I'm passionate about, or even like tweet about them or post about them, and you can get some interaction on them, which I really like. And I don't have to be like to be honest. What I do like about online politics, YouTube community, or just online communities, is that there isn't a lot of judgment for having certain interests. Where sadly, not even sadly, right? Like I do love video games, and a lot of my friends do, but you wouldn't talk about them as in depth with your general friend circle. Like I really really like video games. Like on like I don't know, just obsessed with them in like so many different ways. But then you just wouldn't speak about that in public. Well, with a lot of my friends, and also I guess it goes to you too as well. Like I'm not going to bore most of you talking about sports and football, but I love football, and when I'm with my friends, we'll talk loads about football. But then even then, sometimes you have a divide where people's girlfriends or some friends don't actually like football, so you've got to kind of rein it in as well because you can't just be talking about football the whole time you're out. Akshat, as a Chelsea fan, I kind of understand. Yeah, that bigoted behaviour is disgusting. Yeah, there's just so much of it as well. My first love is from England, and I should have known it was Doom because he gave a presentation why England is right. Oh, with Northern Ireland. That's a shame, Katie. Was that the only bad take he had? Yeah, Jude, for sure. Loads of Chelsea fans are bigots. Union Berlin. If I support a German team, I'll support St. Pauli, I think. Is Everton going down? I hope they're going down. It'd just be fun. It'd just be a bit of drama. Yeah, I'd rather just half it. I would rather just half it as well. Yeah, William, I'm still not sure about children, to be honest. In theory, I'd like a kid. I don't know about in practice, though. Yeah, Fireball, that's fair enough. I mean, like, relationships are good as well, but I think there's too much emphasis put on being in a relationship. But I guess the main problem is just when you get older, I guess, when friends and couple up and move away, and it's just like, what do you have left for a lot of people? You just become very isolated as an older person. What do you call American football? Just American football. I just call it NFL or American football. Rashid, my family is constantly telling me to stop talking to them about politics. But sure, I don't talk to my family about politics. They don't want to talk about it, so I don't give a shit. And also, we'd probably disagree on a lot of things. Yeah, Raven. Is football the one where you kick the ball into a hoop, then it's a one? It's a touch part. Are you talking about like Quidditch or something? Or basketball? I started to hate talking about video games to my friends because they would start talking about SJWs and gamers' rights. Yeah, the thing is with the UK, gaming is way more casual here, and most of my friends completed The Last of Us 2 and they'd never even heard of the drama because internet culture, maybe because of like things like Fox News, internet culture seems to be a bigger part of mainstream American culture where it's not as big in the UK. Yeah, Canada, America and Canadian nature is really cool. Yeah, Everton. Yeah, Everton would be screwed. They run like shit as well. Wait, you don't talk about your friends about stuff on a deeper level. Conversations are deeply important to all my relationships. I just don't make friends with just anyone. You have like deep conversations sometimes, but you know, if you've been friends for years, you can't just be talking about like philosophy all the time. It's just like to be honest, when you're friends with childhood friends, um, everyone is very very different. But because you have that common like experience of growing up, that's what you relate over. Rather than when you're older, a lot of the people you make friends with are people you agree with and share the same ideology as. Like one of my best friends from childhood is like it's fairly reactionary conservative in some ways. Like UK soldier or ex-soldier. Like people are often surprised we're friends, but we've just been friends since we're 5 years old, and we're just like still friends. And it's just like it's that sort of thing. Like when you're older, it's more about people who are similar to you. Yeah, I love Last of Us 2 for sure. Any thoughts on golf? I like Mario and Wii golf. I find watching golf a bit boring. Fata, that sounds like it's crap. Talking politics family sucks. Got accused of being brainwashed by Russians. Acting as YouTubers. That's weird. It's weird because Russia has like quite close ties with Israel as well. Like, why would it be the Russians brainwashing you? Do I like any JRPGs? Not really. Like Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy. Like, never really played them. Yeah. All right. Let's take some of your comments. So basically, just because I couldn't really think of anything to cover on stream, I thought what was interesting actually about this video I just posted on Thursday, or I guess Friday morning for me, is a lot of you, I don't know if any of you would be in the chat, a lot of people shared their experience of growing up during the 9/11 period. So I just wanted to share some of them because I found them quite interesting. So let's see what we got here. I like to get some good comments. Can you guys see them? Alright, you can kind of see them. So, there we go. So yeah, so basically why this is interesting to me is like a lot of Americans, I guess not people here, seem to think that. Oh, who's this person? Seem to think that everyone in the world was like super obsessed with 9/11. Sorry, this person had a verified tick mark. It's a French YouTuber or Canadian YouTuber, I'm guessing. Oh, Cafe Logis. I actually saw the towers get hit. Damn. How old were you? All right. So, as an Australian, no, 9/11 was a real drama for about a month, which is frankly surprising. Over the years, we had security creep, and there was, of course, the war. I remember more about Neopets 2002 than I do about 9/11. So, one sec. So I was a kid in Canada in 2001, and I can tell you 9/11 was not really that impactful on our national psyche, like this guy seems to think. I remember the attacks, and I also remember it was mentioned a lot during Remembrance Day of that year, November 11th. But by Christmas, it was barely a blip on the radar for kids. I still went to sports events, concerts, and the like in the following years. Nobody was talking about big crowds and terror attacks. Granted, the kids in the movie are a few years older than I would have been at the time, but I doubt it was that different for kids in their early teens. It's kind of bizarre to me. He is trying to impose American trauma onto the youth of Canada. I can only assume he is American because I don't know any Canadians who would hyper fixate on this issue. So so basically what I was saying in the video, obviously I was younger, but I don't even remember like 9/11 impacting anything. I know I was a kid, but the film is about kids during this period. And you know, the thing I remember most about 2002, like I said, the videos, the FIFA World Cup, being a kid playing football, but like even like I said, being about 13 years old, there's a lot of horrible shit that went on in the world. And like I said also in the video, is I'm someone who's always loved my history and politics. So I'd always keep up to date on it, and I watch the news. But it never really disturbed me because, like I said in the video, when I was 14, like 13, 14, 15, 16, I just cared about mainly drinking, going out, girls, you know, football, video games. That's all I gave a shit about. So, but also the world did move on. Like the world moves on quicker than you think, and some parts of the world did not give a shit. In Serbia, some people celebrated it because of what had happened to Serbia by the NATO bombings and stuff. So, take some more comments here. Okay, one sec. So, Haley here saying, let me just move up a tiny bit. I was in high school in 2002 and phones were common enough that our teachers told us to confiscate them if they were in class. That had been going on for a few years at that point. And she's talking about like the person complaining about the historical accuracy. The big thing then was shelling out $10 so you could have a custom ringtone. Yeah, I remember that. Instead of the Nokia ringtone, you could force your math class to listen to the theme song from the OC. We weren't rich either. I went to some stupid Cowtown's high school. Some more comments. So, as a non-American who was a teenager during 9/11, my main memory of the climate in 2002-3 was the anti-Bush movement. No blood for oil comes to mind. 9/11 was certainly shocking, and I remember watching it on the news that day, but it was news for like a month before the US went off the deep end into extreme patriotism nationalism. I also remember being pretty disgusted by the amount of anti-Arab racism coming from the US back then. In fact, the rabid obsession the US had with 9/11 during that time firmly solidified my political views as a leftist. Here in Ireland, we spent 2002 protesting against the US military using Shannon Airport to refuel their planes. Also, yes, watching Robbie Keane score a last-minute equaliser against Germany in the World Cup was a huge moment in 2002, and I'm not even into football. So yeah, like I'm saying, a lot of people, World Cup, that was more important in 2002 than geopolitical stuff and 9/11 and stuff. Take some of your comments. The Kingdom of Heaven. Well, that was affected by the War on Terror. Oh yeah, shit, Kate. I forgot you're a bit older. I know my parents had friends in the towers, but I was like 10, so it didn't hit me until I was older. Oh shit. Damn. But yeah, like you're saying, you're 10. When you're 10 years old, that's shocking, but you don't really understand the world properly. Like planes crash into towers. I mean, when you were a kid, do you even know that's like crazy? When I was a kid, I got confused between the two towers Lord of the Rings film and the Twin Towers, as in the things that got blown up. Shit, Cafe Logis. That yeah, I mean, if you actually had family members like killed or family members like hurt or something like that, I can totally see why it would affect your 2002. But this whole this whole film is set in Canada, presumably not amongst a community that was. It's not like it's downtown New York, 2002. So some more comments. Hey, I think you're in the chat actually right now. Don't know if you're still here. Well, if you're still here, enjoy your comment being read out. Not only am I American, but I'm from New York and I graduated high school in 2003. My sister graduated in 2006. 9/11 was huge for us and we were watching it in basically every class that they went on. It was a subject of conversation for weeks. We didn't talk about it around anniversary since we had family members who died, but we did not take over every aspect of our day-to-day lives. Day of, we were all very eager to contact family members to make sure they're okay, which brings me to cell phones, which did not really exist for kids until 2002, 2003. My sister, being 3 years younger, does remember cell phones being prominent in schools, but only when she was in high school. So the cell phone prominence in 2002 seems pretty out of place. Anime was prominent in our school and became more prominent after I left. As for the fact that both me and my sister had our periods before we were 13, my first thought with the movie was actually that 13 is kind of late, not too soon, like the mother said. Owing to your first question about people, why people talk about it, to Virtual Signal, I remember quite strongly how many conservatives did not care because it happened to New York. It was only an excuse for their Islamophobia. That's something interesting I didn't really think about, I guess. Like, does anyone have any experience of that? Like conservatives who don't give a shit about 9/11 because it happened to New York, like because it's mainly Democratic voting or some shit. Oh, you are in the chat. Hey. Vin Jira. Yeah, thanks for your comment. Very interesting. And obviously, can anyone else anyone else? Is this true? Like, this is something I haven't ever heard before. Like, conservatives not giving a shit about 9/11. That seems like something. I'm not saying it's not true. I mean, it's something you wouldn't think on the surface because of George Bush like using it so much. All right, so here's another one. I was almost the exact age of those characters in 2002, and I'm American, and I didn't really spend much of 2002 thinking about 9/11 because I lived really far away from New York and didn't even know what the World Trade Center was. I was too young to understand it was a big deal. Some buildings fell. We invaded a country on the other side of the planet that I hadn't heard of. And I sometimes heard adults complain about things I almost had no point of reference for, like how long it took to get through the metal detectors at airports now, or stuff like that. That was it. So yeah, a lot of people kind of have that experience. I was 20 in 2020. I was 20 in. Right. Okay, I'm not gonna read that comment because it says I was 20 in 2022, which is now. I mean, 19. I don't even know. 2002. All right, let's. Okay, they're probably saying 2002. I was 20 in 2002. 9/11 wasn't really discussed outside the news media and focused more on Canada's involvement in Afghanistan. I can't imagine it had much of an effect on pre-teen, early teens, unless they had family members in the military. There was a revival of discussion on the first anniversary of the attacks. Let's take some more. I think if I sort by new, I'll have more because I even read some before I came on. Alright, so as a 9th, 10th grade in 2002, I can tell you it wasn't a factor in my life other than one of my friends going apeshit anti-Islamic, which caused a real rift in our friendship. I'm not Islamic, but I've always been progressive and had something realize that some crazy extremists weren't a fair representation of the culture. So honestly, the only real major impact I had on my life was having to defend Muslim people on a regular basis. I was in school during 9/11 in NYC. At 9/11 had no impact on my life, except I had a day of school and nobody at school even cared about it. I also never heard of that swine flu thing until recently. I actually had that. Pretty sure most kids didn't care about much of the real world, and we were too focused on things like music, card games, video games, and movies. What I do remember about school is we were all really into Magic the Gathering and Pokemon games. Yeah, something I remember as well. Let's take one more. Let's see if it's got a long one. Okay, let's have a look at this one. I was a Canadian kid in 2001. I'm about the same age as you, and adults might have been affected by it, though as much as the critic pretended, it mostly showed itself in the form of Islamophobia, not in the form of, oh no, I've got a box. As for kids such as myself, while the day I learned about 9/11 happened, I did not understand why the person speaking of it was telling me, since I did not even know of this place beforehand, and it seemed as though both of us did not have any ties to it. Okay, that's interesting as well. All right, I think that's enough comments, but you get the sense in the comments that even children who lived in New York often didn't think about it too much the next year. So the so the thing is, I said this in the video. The fact that I'm even trying to engage in this criticism is ridiculous. Like even if this film was literally set in New York in 2002, I still think it's a stupid criticism. Like life went on. How many normal days did people have? Like even probably like 2 months after 9/11, where they just went about their lives, especially children. Um, especially yeah, like I said in the video, kids just move on quick, and as some people had said there, some kids didn't even know why they should care about it. Like, and I guess as children as well, not only do you watch the news, you don't watch the news. You probably just don't know the extent of it. Like you hear two planes crash into two buildings, and that's about it. Like it's just a really abstract thing. You're probably not sitting down with your parents watching handheld cam footage of the buildings collapsing or reporters on the scene. So the traumatic part of it is just not in your head. It's like, I guess, it's like if you're an adult in another part of America and you hear about this and then you just never pay attention to it ever again. Like that's the same kind of thing. It's just like these children will not have been exposed to the political ramifications, economic ramifications, probably didn't even know how bad it was. So why would they non-stop talk about it the next year? So I was reading some comments from the chat. Sorry, just going back up a bit. Okay, so I mean, those days are really dark, which is why I tried to push back when people say Bush wasn't that bad. Yeah, I mean, like, it's. I'd say George Bush and post 9/11, like immediately in like Afghanistan and Iraq. I think it's the closest America has come to like straight up fascism because unlike Trump, where everyone was extremely polarized, it was like a period of relative in America unity. And it's actually something Metal Gear Rising, which you have on screen right now, was actually talking about last night. It was like what they did with 9/11 is they took a national tragedy and and the media and the government used it to manipulate people to support the war on terror. Literally, this game says that. Like this character Raiden says that. um, and of course, that's why I always laugh at Japanese developers. Like they'll just fucking say it. Like that, we all know it, but like a lot of video games will not even talk about it. And this game's like, yeah, they basically used 9/11 to justify the war economy and the war on terror. But yeah, because most people supported the Iraq War, right? Most people voted for George Bush a second time. This guy who did the Iraq War. Most like Americans would, you talk about like cancel culture, which is made up, but like American news anchors, you spoke out against the war, you lost your job. You were seen as unpatriotic. You know that freedom fries bullshit. It was just like complete insanity. And of course, like a lot of you old Americans in the chat, I know you didn't support that, but most Americans did. And that's the thing, like that's why I get so annoyed about Americans hating on all Russians so hard for Ukraine stuff, while at the same time they live in a country that is a democracy compared to Russia at least, and they not only supported this war, they voted in the guy who did it again, like, and he won pretty conclusively. So well, yeah, Zachary, American Manifest Destiny ideology, an American turn of the 20th century race science, like literally influence, literally is the exact same shit as the Nazis. They influenced the Nazis. America literally was the blueprint for Nazi Germany. Like that's just the fact. Char, no offense, Char. I just can't do that because of money, and also, I mean, that podcast wouldn't necessarily be successful either. Well, thanks for the suggestion. Yeah, people thinking Metal Gear is apolitical or conservative is just so funny. Yeah, well, Hitler praised Manifest Destiny. Nazi judges and lawyers went to study US race law because at the time, if you wanted an extreme race based society, or in terms of racist apartheid ethno state, you had two options to study really. You had South Africa and you had the United States, but the Nazis chose the United States because it was a far more comprehensive set of laws against like basically every single minority. No, Limbo, my point was Americans are far more so we're talking about like Russia versus Iraq, right? So pretty much I don't think anyone in the chat is telling me that Russia is a democracy. Like no one believes that Russia is a legit democracy, right? Um so if we're going with the understanding that Russia isn't a democracy and people in Russia do not have a real say in their government, right? It's basically a dictatorship. Um the fact that Americans are supporting every sanction and like boycotting because they think all Russians are responsible for Putin's actions in Ukraine, I think is quite funny because Americans, not saying all Americans are far more responsible for Iraq and for the war on terror because they voted for it, right? And as flawed as the American system is, we all admit that America, at least compared to Russia and some other countries, is a democracy in that you can vote for a candidate who has a pretty good chance of winning in this election between two people, right? So with 2004, you had John Kerry, who was, I think, against the Iraq War at that point, versus George Bush, who invaded two countries and had threatened to invade more in like 2001, 2002, and Americans voted for him, and he won the popular vote, right? And he won the electoral college as well. So if we're going to say that all Russians should be punished for Putin, despite the fact they have less of a say, then would you also agree that the international community should have slapped every sanction imaginable on America and Britain for Iraq, especially since your average American citizen shared more responsibility for those wars because they signed up for an army. It's the volunteer army. It's not a conscripted army, and like the Russian army as well. But then they also have the element of they voted for this twice. Like then it's like if you in a free democracy do that, and again, I'm not saying that would have been the answer, but I find it funny how Americans can rationalize targeting civilian populations of Russia, North Korea, Venezuela, Iran, Cuba, and think like these people deserve it, right? But also these same Americans will tell you Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, Russia are all dictatorships, right, where the people have no say. So you're either being very cruel and you're punishing the people for having a dictatorship, which often was caused by your own government in terms of either it was reaction to your government's actions or like with Russia, America and the West helped install that government. So yeah, that's my point. If you're going to blame all Russians for Ukraine and not blame all Americans for Iraq, you are not consistent. Not that I wouldn't blame either population, but it just bears remembering that American population has freedom of speech. They can vote in a relatively free election, and they decided after Bush invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, this dude deserves another term for doing that. And I'm sure, I remember some speeches, He's a guy saying these are successful things and they're good things, and Americans voted for that. Do you think most Russians really had a say in Putin's staying in power for 20-something years? Do you think Putin wins every election because he's just unimaginably popular, like most popular Democratic candidate in modern European history? Yeah, Fireball. Seeing some liberals being anti-Russian people while being from a country that had countries that had governments who killed millions. Yeah. Sorry, let's read some more stuff. Yeah, it took a national disaster to convince people that Bush was an idiot. Yeah. It's just really, the thing is, Americans. It's really strange that Americans seem to have this opinion. I'm not talking about like every American, of course, but like there's this sentiment in America that if a government is bad overseas in like an authoritarian state, like often military dictatorships, then every person who lives there is ultimately responsible for that because they don't uprise and overthrow the government, right? So, because North Koreans and Iranians do not overthrow their governments, they're all complicit. While Americans consistently vote, no matter which party rules, warmongers and war criminals, and apparently it's not all Americans. But you could just vote these people out. Like no people in North Korea cannot vote Kim Jong Un out, right? People in Iran cannot. Well, they can vote the prime minister out. They can't, and the president. They can't outvote the Ayatollah, can they? So I always just find it ironic. It's like, yeah, maybe a lot of people in America do support Trump or do support Biden, like fervently. A lot of people in Russia probably do. You know, the polling suggests that at least there's a hardcore group of people who do support the Russian invasion and support Putin, right? But again, that is not a free democracy, even in a sense of a Western capitalist democracy, which isn't really free. So how can you blame all these people for this invasion? What do you expect of these people? Like, would you overthrow your own government? Like Americans in the chat, if Biden invades Iran tomorrow with Israel and Saudi Arabia, are you picking up a gun and overthrowing the government? Because if your answer is no, then why do you expect Russians to do it? Why do you expect Koreans to do it? Or why do you expect Iranians to do it? If you wouldn't physically go and try and overthrow the US government if Biden invaded Iran, then why do you think people in other countries have to go and die to try and do this as well? And I'm not, and also because someone said this, I'm not asking you, in theory, would you want that to happen? I'm saying, would you go organize your local community or try, march up to the White House with a militia and try and overthrow the US government? Would you try and do that? I'm not even talking about something like Jan 6th or some shit like that. I'm just talking about, would, in your mind, you'd like, this is not for people in the chat, it's just like in theory. In a lot of liberals and conservative minds, the Russian people are guilty of what Putin's doing because they're not overthrowing the government, right? So, like I'm saying, most Americans, no matter how much they would want that to happen, if you know Biden invaded Iran or some shit like that, or invaded Mexico or Canada, in theory, nearly none of you will do that because you know what would happen if you do that. You'd either be killed very, very quickly, or you'd go to prison for the rest of your life. And ultimately, you'd probably fail as well. Because just like with many capitalist states, why would the soldiers turn on the civilians, right? In a volunteer army, there is a lot of reasons for the army to not to turn on the civilians, right? Where in other countries where there's conscription, there is not much reason. So, for example, Egypt is a good example originally, where the army stayed neutral and didn't turn on the protesters who overthrew the government, because most people in that army were conscripts who were doing their national service. So if you're doing 2 years national service and you see people who are your friends rise up against the government, you're not going to pull out a gun and start shooting them, because why would you? Whereas in places like America, how much of your benefits, your retirement, your healthcare, how much is tied up in the military? It's much more likely the US military would turn on US civilians than, I don't know, for example, the Egyptian military, or some poor country with a conscript military. So again, it's just the logic, isn't it? It's like Russia is an advanced military. The US is one. You don't stand the chance unless you have some experience like guerrilla leaders on your side. Unless you have like the reincarnation of Mao leading your side and have some like outside funding or weapon shipments and popular support among the people, you're not beating a government military. In Iraq, they tried to overthrow Saddam after the Gulf War. Look what fucking happened. Just got absolutely destroyed because the US promised support and they didn't give it. Alistair, British people unironically think Britain deserves points for ending slavery early. Like, because Britain made the slave trade illegal in 1832 and slavery illegal in, I think, 1841. They literally will say Britain ended slavery. And I'm like, Britain literally pioneered the most efficient way to distribute and sell slaves from Africa to America and Britain. It deserves no credit for being a country that maybe realised keeping slaves is actually a bad thing a bit earlier, maybe like 30 years earlier than half of America did. If you were one of the pioneers, okay, Spain and Portugal started the slave trade. Britain was the pioneer behind, like, it's, I don't know, the transatlantic slave trade is the slave trade they pioneered. Yeah, fireball. That's pretty common as well, especially if you're talking about India, maybe as well. So why piracy became popular was because there was a war in like very early 1700s, because the King of Spain, Carlos II, was a Habsburg. And if you know about Habsburgs and European royal families, they are very, very inbred. Carlos II was so inbred, it led to loads of physical and mental disabilities, and he couldn't have children, basically. So the Habsburg line in Spain was going to die. So the European nations all fought a war over who would choose the new king of Spain. Britain was involved in that war, and what happened is they all signed a peace treaty, and loads of British sailors were just left stranded in the Caribbean, and that's why most of them turned to piracy. So most of the famous pirates of the pirate golden age are actually old British sailors who were stuck in like Jamaica or other places like that, and they decided to become pirates instead of going back home. Yeah, War of Spanish Succession. That's it. Yeah, Bloody Sunday is the black and white one, isn't it? Where the priest gets shot. Yeah, Britain can't thank itself for solving a problem it started. Yeah, I mean, technically, it wasn't the first. Portugal was the first country to do it. Spain and Portugal together started it in the New World. England also did it massively. But Holland did it. France did it. All the European countries basically did it. Stede Bonnet, yeah, the Gentleman Pirates. Wait, has anyone watched Black Sails? That's a fucking good show. It's basically like a prequel to Treasure Island and also like a historical drama about the golden age of piracy. It's really good. It's basically the same plot as Assassin's Creed 4, mixed in with Treasure Island. Yeah, I don't know about Sweden, actually. I mean, because it's linked to the European royal families, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know much about that, though. Belgium was obviously colonialist, but I think Belgium was a part of the Spanish Empire during the slave trade, so I don't think Belgium independently did the slave trade, but it did it as part of the Spanish Empire. Yeah, Black Sails was underrated. It was really good. Oh yeah, some people watched it. That's good. Yep. Wasn't Che Guevara fought the Belgians in the Congo? Oh yeah, people in the chat, right? Who's played Elden Ring and think it's really overrated? People in the chat speak if you think Elden Ring is better than Metal Gear Rising. Also, I'm playing Horizon at the moment. I love the first one. Second one's really, really good. Yeah, Maro, I wouldn't say Vikings were pirates because pirate maybe implies they did most of their work on the sea, but they were great sailors. But they would raid. But the thing is, Vikings, pirates implies maybe you're not settling somewhere. Where Vikings would raid like foreign land, they would settle in loads of places. Like Scandinavians in general, something I've learned from reading an earlier medieval history book is so many European groups are literally just Scandinavian. Like the Lombards in Italy are all Scandinavian, which I didn't know. Playing Elden Ring right now. No, I'm Raven. I'm not going to spoil Horizon. I haven't finished it, but I really, really like it. I would rather play Metal Gear. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, what the deal? The thing is, I think Elden Ring is one of the most overhyped games I've ever played in my life. Like, it's really cool, and the exploration and the community aspect. Yeah, Norman's a Scandinavian. Yeah, Rollo from Vikings, but no, the Rollo from Vikings is not at all accurate to the real one, but it's not even the same era. the Rollo in Vikings is like 80 years older than the real one. Yeah, Elden Ring just so overrated. It's basically just Dark Souls mixed with Breath of the Wild, but Breath of the Wild is still a lot better, in my opinion. And I'm playing Horizon, and the weird thing is, because there was a bit of like discourse about Horizon versus Elden Ring, and everyone was like, I hope more games. It was like, I hope most open world games take inspiration from Elden Ring. And I'm playing Horizon, and I'm like, I so much more prefer this style of game. Like, I wouldn't mind Horizon taking a bit more inspiration from Breath of the Wild's exploration, but Elden Ring is like, there's no story, there's nothing to get invested in. The gameplay is fun, the exploration is fun, but on a technical level, it looks like shit. Like, it's just for a PS5 game. Horizon is actually the best game I've ever seen. Elden Ring feels like it's maybe like 6 years old or something. And like the community aspect is probably the most fun part, but it's like I'm not invested to finish that game because I don't give a shit. The story is just nonsense. just British people talking like random shite. Where Horizon has like interesting lore, interesting characters, like interesting world, and like insane graphics as well. And the gameplay is fun. Like, I prefer the gameplay in Horizon to Elden Ring. I prefer like the mechanics. I prefer the combat. Um, and I was saying, even with the game I got on stream, Metal Gear Rising, even with like the difficulty, like I find this game quite hard. Not impossible, but quite hard for the boss battles. And it's like when I get beaten by the boss, I kind of understand where I went wrong. With Elden Ring, it's just like this feels fucking impossible. I'm never going to do it. Anyway, that's what I think about that. Yeah, but Horizon's on PS4. You can play the new Horizon on last gen. You can play Elden Ring and Horizon on PS4 and PS5. From Software is overrated, yes. Bladestorm stream. Yeah, I need to find my copy of Blade. I was actually looking at that the other day. It's 50 quid on the store. I have a copy of it somewhere. Oppress the Gamers. Who was oppressing the gamers recently? Oh, it was North Korean hackers who stole like millions in gaming Bitcoin the other day. No, I haven't watched a Vinland Saga. The only thing about Vinland I know is going there in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I get the overhypedness. Yeah, the graphics do look like the graphics animation look like shit. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's okay. My problem is not people who enjoy those games. My problem is people are saying they want this to be like the default in gaming. Like I like Breath of the Wild story more than Elden Ring, right? It's still pretty bare bones. I like Elden Ring. There is not much there for people unless you watch lore videos on YouTube. And I just don't find it that interesting. Where I'm really invested in Horizon because of the story, but there's just no, and that's the thing. Like there's obviously a massive market for the Elden Ring style, but people who were saying on Twitter, like, I want this to become the dominant style for open world games. I'm like, no, I don't want it. I like it as like a certain subgenre, like Immortals, Phoenix Rising, Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring, like more minimalistic open world games about exploration. Like that's all well and good. But I also like massive RPGs that are heavy on story, like The Witcher 3 and Horizon. Like there's a place for both of these things, and like Assassin's Creed, right? There's a place for all of these. We don't have to be like, oh yeah, I hope everyone starts copying out, because I don't want that. I don't want no story, and just like Elden Ring to me, it feels like a lot of the bosses, or not only bosses, a lot of the creatures are imported from like Earth Defense Force or some shit, like giant crabs and lobsters with like literally the only thing about them, the fantasy thing, is that there's giant like a giant fucking lobster. Yeah, Horizon's one of the robot animals. Yeah. Yeah, Alos, I'm pretty sure that Bazim game is coming out. I'm hyped though. Like going to Baghdad, 800 800 AD sounds pretty cool. You need those lore videos, yeah, and you shouldn't need like a 3-hour lore video to understand what's going on. North Koreans are the pirate, yeah. I stand with North Korean hackers. I'm grinding Metal Gear Rising again to get all the items and upgrades because you mentioned it. Yeah, like you just play those VR missions. You get a fucking ton of money for them. Yeah, San Fran, The Last Kingdom just looks like basically about a year ago. I was like, should I start Vikings or should I start The Last Kingdom? I'm so happy I started Vikings because it just looks so much fucking better. Last Kingdom, like it's like the frame rate of the cameras. It's basically like very BBC TV show cameras, and it makes the whole thing look like shit. Where like Vikings has that more like film quality, where Last Kingdom really does look like a BBC TV show. Hugo Leung time travels becomes a music manager. That sounds fucking funny. I'd watch that anime. Limbo. I can't see that to be honest, because there's not even like 15 famous British comedians. Yeah, the only British TV show, the only BBC TV show that looks pretty decent is Peaky Blinders, but it still has that like it's a lot less. It still has that like The Hobbit, like 60 frames a second quality. Like sometimes I think most video games look better in 60 frames, but some video games when you change it from 30 to 60, it just looks really fucking weird. Like it looks way too fast. Where 30 obviously has that cinematic quality. I think Oliver Stone said, I was listening to his autobiography like a couple of years ago now. He said 24 frames is the best for films. But for some reason, BBC shows love to be like 60 frames or something. It makes it look so shit. Yeah, that actually sounds really fucking funny. Nah, San Fran, that can't be right. Because the Great Heathen Army is in the first Vikings. So Leif Erikson is like the 1100s, isn't it? So Great Heathen Army is like the 870s, isn't it? Or 880s? Which is actually in Vikings. So I don't know how they do that. Or is he just fighting in England again? Because obviously the Vikings dominated England for fucking like, hundreds of years. Very soft throat. Does anyone else get this as like a non-smoker? When you sit around people who smoke, it just like makes your throat so swollen. I absolutely fucking hate it. It's like when you sit next to like a bonfire or something. Mighty Boosh, no Limbo. Any like old British comedy thing, I will not have watched. James Corden, yeah. Apparently he was such a prick even before he was famous as well. Yeah, Canute. Yeah, San Fran. I think that they tried to make Leif Erikson into like a hero, like an action hero, rather than like a navigator. I think. I don't think he's fighting with the Great Heathen Army because that's when the Great Heathen Army period is when the Vikings under like Guthrum conquered most of England, and then they agreed. I think they agreed. Is it Danelaw with Alfred the Great after the battle? What was it, Chippingham or something? I was playing the Assassin's Creed Discovery mode when I was learning about it. Bull Run, Doctor Who is way too fucking scary to be a kid's show. Like I used to watch it growing up, and it absolutely fucking traumatized me. I still fucking think about some of the fucking shit I watched in that show. Chippenham, yeah, End of AC Valhalla, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Guthrum. I hate that from Walking by Smoke. Yeah, I know. I'll cancel all smokers. Yeah, Doctor Who, Sunbather, just some fucking episodes. I don't even want to talk about it because it's so fucking traumatizing to me as a kid. The Daleks don't scare me. The Daleks never scared me. It's other fucking things that scared me. Yeah, San Fran fan. The problem with Viking history is that most of it was written by Christian Scandinavians in like the 1100s. Um, and I'm reading a book about medieval history right now. And the problem with like general Scandinavian societies is they didn't write anything and they couldn't read. Most of the history was told through stories. So that's why, for example, people like Ragnar from the first Viking show, um, even though he was a real person, it's just so unclear what he actually did because he gets basically what happens with Viking history is loads of people get morphed into one. So like Ivar the Boneless, Ragnar, Rollo sometimes, and then King Horik often all get merged into one person when it's impossible. It was basically the thing that Ragnar was basically credited to, he could not have done. So they speculate that actually a lot of what Ragnar supposedly done was actually a lot of people mixed together. Because either the boneless was 100% real, like he's one of the more famous Viking characters because lots of things written about him in England. I think Bjorn, not accurate to the show, was also real. And Halfdan, who isn't in the show, he was real. But then a lot of it just gets really weird. But it's interesting. It's just like Christians were very good at documenting their own history through basically the church, while a lot of societies, Irish, pre-Christian Irish, pre-Christian Europe, a lot of people never wrote down their history, which is unfortunate, especially when you have things like Ireland, where the whole culture got erased first by the Christian church and then second by English colonization. So while Scottish Celtic language is quite similar to the original Celtic language in Scotland, Irish Celtic language is nowhere near similar to the original Celtic language. But interestingly, I only found this out recently. Icelandic people speak Old Norse, while other Scandinavian countries speak like contemporary Norse. Like that's pretty cool, isn't it? It's like there's one fucking island in the world that speaks the ancient version of your language, which like it would be cool if like Ireland spoke ancient Gaelic, but they don't. Weeping Angels did not scare me either. Like Weeping Angels and Daleks did not scare me. There was just other things that fucking freaked me out. Cybermen in the David Tennant era, they were quite disturbing how they were created. Like that fucked me up when I was a kid. They weren't actually that. They were scary because they walked around everywhere. Like they didn't run; they just walked, and that's like really creepy. But yeah, the Weeping Angels not too scary. The kid in the gas mask. Like, are you my mummy? Yeah, that was fucking creepy as fuck as well. Which Coven? I'm not sure if you're messing, but basically the person who sings the songs for Brave, that Pixar movie, she did some of the music for the Assassin's Creed Valhalla expansion. She was because she knows Scottish Celtic, but she doesn't know Irish Celtic, and she was just talking about in the video with Ivar Selnick, who's he's like that Icelandic guy who does the music for Vikings and Assassin's Creed, because he was talking about like ancient Norse and stuff, and he's just basically saying ancient Irish does not exist anymore, basically. And even my grandma, who's 92, she was saying English people did not like you, like basically tried to destroy, which everyone knows, tried to destroy Irish language. She can't speak it fluently. Although my girlfriend's cousin did go to a school where everyone had to speak it fluently, and you get in trouble if you spoke English. So he speaks it fluently. Some of them do, but not loads of them. Yeah, Boris. The xenomorph is something that creeps me the fuck out as well. Like, I'm never gonna watch an aliens film either. That's interesting, Raven. Yeah, there's a couple of them like that Einar Selvik guy. He sings in ancient Norse, and he's like, I think he's like the main guy for it now, just because of Vikings and Assassin's Creed made him so popular. Um, but yeah, like it is interesting. Well, I don't know how many of you guys watched my Miyazaki Kojima video, but I talked a lot about cultural erasure, cultural genocide, and that sort of stuff with language because it's a theme of Metal Gear Solid 5. Um, Brian, I'm not sure about that because there's a theory when I was reading my book that the Celtic Welsh are actually Irish. Like the Celts in Wales came from Ireland because it used to be like Romanized British under the Romans. Because the Welsh language is sounds very different to Celtic, Scottish, and Irish, so I'm not too sure. Gangs of New York is good. The Thing. The Thing doesn't scare me. The Fly, that's fucking creepy. The Jeff Goldblum movie. Yeah, Aliens is a bit overmilled, I guess. Okay, I think I'm going to have to head off now. But yeah, I appreciate everyone tuning in. I might stream for a bit tomorrow night before I go on that live stream with the Humanist and Amy at 4 a.m. my time. That should be fun. Other than that, new video on Tuesday, new video on Wednesday or Thursday, and new video on Friday. I'm not sure when I will stream again. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday. We shall see. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. It was just a quick one. Well, not really that quick in the end. But yeah, just felt like I should do one because I didn't stream twice this week. I streamed once on Tuesday, and I also didn't stream. I didn't stream properly. I played video games, so yeah. Sorry, Miss Diction. I'm probably going to archive this on my second channel. But yeah, have a good evening, everyone, because I know it's a bit early in America. Have a good week, whatever you're doing, and yeah, nice to chat to everyone. And please go watch the Turning Red video if you have not. I guarantee you will at least smile once while watching it. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in, and see you in the next one.